You guys are obviously in your bye week. How valuable is this time for you guys between games, extended time between games?
Yeah, I think it's important that we continue to balance, getting the guys' bodies feeling great and then making sure we're committing to our practice habits, doing the hard work. And I think this is a time of the year you really want to hit stride and continue to improve. So when you have extra time for practice, that's great. And then it also gives you opportunity, for certain individuals and to make sure you're doing what you can mindfully for guys' bodies to feel great as well.
You talked about this time of the year being a time to really kind of leap forward and improve. What does improvement look like for this team the rest of the way?
I mean, I'd say the number one thing that stands out for me is, we've done a great job coming out with great intent, physicality in the games, and that's because we're doing it in practice. And I'll give Tamin tremendous credit for commanding the games. It's not easy to not be affected by what's going on in the game, what the score might be, and all those things. And I really believe that he's taken a tremendous leadership step for us and how he's commanding our team, leading our team. And you see it in practice. You see it carry over. I think that's so important. I think the second thing is with Nate Heise, he's playing with tremendous confidence. He's playing with tremendous force to his game. He is somebody that I believe in at a very high level. We got to this time last season, and we elevated his minutes and opportunity, and his production continued to soar. And we believe that same thing is going to happen this year, and even more so. So I think his play, our guys get great energy watching him be the confident player he is. And it's not just making shots, it's driving closeouts, attacking the rim, getting big rebounds. So I think there's the things you can do as a team, and then there's the things that individually happen. And then, I said with Plata, a couple games ago, like his, bringing physicality to the game. So I think, Tamin's command of the game and our team and his leadership as somebody who's in year 4 in this program is really standing out, and you see it. It's visible. And again, I think he's not always the most extrovert, but he's doing a great job in communicating, commanding. So I think all those things are important. Again, the same things matter, the same things, right? Defensive intent, physicality, turn people over. Offensively, share the ball, get the ball in the paint. Win the rebounding battle. Those are the margins.
Coach, with everything I know about you, I don't think you'd say, hey, just because the calendar flips to February, Nate Heise, starts to have more production. But is there something about this time of year where maybe the feel is different with some of these games and you see him bring more intensity and bring more hustle and those things that you actually do look for?
I think it's important that he understands that how much we need him to be aggressive and to play at the level he's playing at for our team to function at its best. There can be times during the season where, maybe other guys are just scoring the ball so well or things are going well that he feels like, the team doesn't need me to do as much offensively. They're doing fine without me. I'll focus in other areas. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And I think what he realizes in Big 12 play as you move on through the season is that the physicality is so great. The game plans of the other teams, they're going to try to take certain things away from Milan or J. Jeff, or, there's things that are going on out there. And when he's super aggressive, that gives our team great confidence, and he's somebody that we know can produce. So whatever the reason is, I think it's more of a credit to Nate in understanding how much it's needed. And we need his compete. We need that fight. And when we see it, it shows up in so many areas. So, whether it's because it's the narrative that we're entering February, which, again, to your point, I don't believe in any narratives like that. I just think it's mental focus on what matters, consistency of habits that wins out. But I think Nate definitely knows right now how important he is to this team. And why wouldn't you have such a great sense of urgency if you're him? You only have so many more opportunities left in your college career, right? You've got 9 more league games and whatever is after that. So you've had a lot more yesterdays than you do tomorrow. So, man, make the most of that day.
What have you seen from Baylor of late, and how is this maybe a different team than what you saw before?
Yeah, they're obviously coming off a few wins. You build your confidence. You go on the road and get a win, and then, play great offensively and defensively last night. In terms of different, I just think that they have a better idea of like who they are and how they're going to win games. They're shooting the ball with really good confidence. from the 3-point line. Multiple guys are doing that. So I just think they're a team with great versatility. I think they're you get a couple wins this time of the year, you start to feel good with your confidence, and they're probably as good or better than any on the offensive glass. And they were very successful with us down in Waco, getting to the old boards and converting those into points. So we have to do a great job staying out of rotation, staying in position to block out and keep them off the glass.
And another question on this kind of this midweek bye. Has that do you get into film more, just kind of on future opponents, or do you worry just about Baylor, or is it more about like what are we doing as a team? Or
yeah, our mindset is more focused on us. What does a great offensive possession look like for us? What does a great defensive possession look like for us? What does sharing the basketball look like for us? What is being connected on defense? And I think as much as we respect all of our opponents, we don't look ahead for sure. We're not looking past anybody. So if we're to watch film, I think 90% of it is on this is what the Cyclones need to do. This is what it looks like. Let's do it again. I think young people learn better by seeing the example of what to do. And then at the same time, we have tremendous respect for everybody we play. And certainly Baylor has, been a dominant program in this league and on the national landscape for a long time. So we don't take anything for granted, and we're extremely intentional on the things that we need to do to be successful in this game with them. But there won't be a time ever in our program that we'll ever take opportunity to look ahead. We'll try to do everything we can to just stay in that moment.
Back to Nate, I'd imagine there's a certain degree of selflessness he plays with that is a positive attribute in that he wants to get other guys going. You see him do it with Jamarian a lot. I think he drives it sometimes. He's looking for him because he knows the spark he can provide. How do you meld that with maybe a sense of selfishness in a good way he can provide in terms of his own attack that you were talking about?
Yeah, I love Nate Heise. I love him. I love the relationship that we have. I love how he plays. I love what he's about as a person. I love Nate Heise. Nate Heise is going to consistently hear from me, score the ball, make the aggressive play, score the ball, make the aggressive play. That mindset, when it takes over for him, he elevates us to such a higher level. And so, like I said, whether it's the calendar turn to February, whether it's this turn to that, from me, he's going to hear the same thing. And so when you say, what did you say to him in the game? I'm going to say, Nate, score the ball. And you're going to say, what did you say to him here? Nate, be aggressive. Attack the closeout. It's not going to change because we need it. It's important. We have to have it. I want him to feel far more like that's the oxygen our team needs to breathe than it's an extra benefit. It's something we have to have. It's necessary. It has to show up every possession. So I love him. He's like I said, I love everything about Nate. Nate needs to continue to step up.
And your defensive principles, how much of the habits that you instill, you talk about embracing the hard, how much is that the bedrock of it? Because we know what you guys want to do, but to get the result, you have to embrace the hard in everything in terms of that.
Yeah, no, I think the defense sets the tone for everything. And I don't think that's just for our team. I think that's for everybody. And because it's not easy to sprint back, it's not easy to communicate, it's not easy to be in a stance, it's not easy to, disrupt the other team's plays. Everything takes tremendous effort, mental focus, and connectedness. But then that same skill set turns over for you offensively or on the glass. And so then in all three phases of the game, things tend to go well. So, certainly when we came in, if you look back at the start, it was far more about let's just play really hard. Let's put all this focus on defense. And as we move forward, that has also allowed our offense to get better, as well as better players, more skill, all that stuff. So yeah, I think it all starts with a defensive mentality, because when you have that, you're doing those things, and you're also putting yourself in position for your opponent to question their confidence, their connectedness, their togetherness. So we need to continue to come out and have great defensive intent the very first possession, and then keep that over the course of the 40 minutes.
How is your thinking on the value or the priority you put on offensive rebounding, I guess, has changed over the course of your career?
Well, I think when you look at, the really good teams across the board, and you look year in and year out at teams that win, offensive rebounding is at the top. And it doesn't matter if it's Florida, who wins the national title last year, Houston, that's been in the top of our league, Michigan State, that's been great for a long time, Arizona, that's having a historic season. When you look at all those teams, one thing they all have in common is they're on the offensive glass. And I think what that does is allows you to perform well offensively even when shots aren't falling. It allows you to get extra free throws, get extra rim baskets. In most cases, those are the best threes that we get from Milan are in that situation as well. And so I think what's changed for me is just the understanding of how critical offensive rebounding is to having a great offense, to having a great team, and to having a team that's able to win on the road or, on a bad shooting night in a tough environment. And you study it and you say it is a necessary part for any team or program that's going to try to win when things aren't, they're not making every shot.
I think for a long time, coaches or teams would punt on offensive rebounding with the concern being transition. Is that concern overblown, or have you guys been able to mitigate that in a way?
Well, it's important that you have a team that understands multiple efforts, right? Because it is possible to give great effort on the offensive glass and then immediately flip the script and give great effort in transition defense. And so I think if you're doing one or the other, you're compromising somewhere, and then you're not going to be the best of what you can be. And so that has been the number one highlighted aspect of the game that we've been preaching since we started is if we want to have a great team and we want to continue to get better and we want to perform at our best and we want to have certain things that might be able to happen for us, then you have to be great in transition defense and great on the offensive glass. And so I don't know how everybody looks at it. I just know that, we have the capability of being great on the offensive glass and in transition defense. And that's something that we need to give tremendous focus, effort, and honor that every single possession, because every second chance opportunity is pivotal. And every time you can get your defense set, it's extremely important as well.
Mason Williams, obviously, I don't think is expected to play, but where's he at in his recovery from his offseason procedure as he continues to ramp up for you guys?
Yeah, he returned to practice probably 5 weeks ago, and he's been out there every single day. And I think what's great is he's seeing the level of physicality in our practices that you see in Big 12 games, and he's being able to compete against elite guards, guys that are proven winners over time, and I think that only makes you better. So, we have no intention on him playing this year. That was never the plan. It was for him to redshirt and utilize the year to get healthy. But now that he's out there, he reaps the added benefit of being able to compete in a practice environment every day where he can get better, and his development's important.
With follow up on Mason, but on Xavier, is I noticed him on the injury report a lot. Is like a medical in the cards for him, or what's the status there?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost for each guy, right? You want to do what's in their best interest of health and well-being, and he's had some injuries, again, not going into depth, that have created challenges for him to be able to be out there. So, again, I'm not in the business of trying to be a fortune teller on what may or may not be, but it appears at this point that it doesn't look like he's going to be able to play in the games, and whatever that means, it means, and we'll take it as it comes.
What are the biggest ways you've seen Tamin's playmaking and pure point guard skills evolve the most since he was previously your full-time point 2 years ago?
So what was he his first year?
Well, he was also a full-time point. I mean, last year.
His evolution as point guard. Okay, so his evolution as a point guard. I think that in your first year, come in as a freshman, and you're just trying almost to play to not turn it over, or play to get us into offense. And then I think he took the step his sophomore year and said, these are the things I need to do. I need to attack and pick and roll. I need to make these plays, make these shots, and there's an evolution there. And then I think as you continue to forge forward. Obviously, last year he had so many injuries going on. Not probably fair to gauge what happened, and just because he wasn't the best version of himself at any point last year. But when you look at right now what he's doing, he understands possessions. He understands time and score. He understands who needs to get the ball. I keep saying, like, he commands the whole game, right? Which is on both sides, offensively and defensively. The best version of ourselves usually is with Tamin Lipsey starting the game, getting a steal, a deflection, a hustle play, chasing down a rebound or a loose ball. And I continue to challenge him on, we need more Tamin plays. In our program, those are called Tamin plays. Elite extra effort to get a deflection, get a steal, get a rebound, get us an extra possession. And that's such a big part of commanding a game as well. But for him as a point guard, he sees everything 2 steps ahead. The game is slowed down for him. He knows how you're going to defend things and what he can take advantage of. He knows where the necessary risk is and where to stay away from. He knows what the right play is in every situation. He is extremely cerebral, an elite competitor, a tremendous winner, and all of those things go into his reads, decision-making, playmaking, shot-making. So, again, I said at the start of this, I think the biggest reason, on the court that we've taken this different route is because he's setting the tone and commanding the game and continuing to command it regardless of what's going on, what the score is, what the other team's doing. He just out there saying, I'm in control of this game on both sides of the court. And I think that is really hard for anybody to quantify because there's so many amazing things that he's doing every single possession to command the team, command the game, and his communication is so important. I mean, if there's one thing that I've challenged him the most and I'm the most proud of is when he's vocal in a huddle, when he's vocal on the court, when he's vocal with a teammate, when he's explaining something to somebody, when we hear his voice, we all get tremendous confidence. So all those things go into his ability to command our team and command the game. And I think that's what makes him such an elite point guard. Even more than his playmaking, decision-making, passing, it's commanding a group of people and bringing them all together and elevating them as one. And that's where his command has been so great on both sides.
Does it further add to the legend of Tamin Lipsey that he was able to endure all the injuries that he had last year and play off ball, but then come back this year, be the lead point guard, and have the type of season he's having?
Yeah, I mean, it would be hard to say how important he is to this team and this program and what he's done day in and day out over 4 years. So, yeah, I mean, do we appreciate and understand and recognize what he did last year with, a ton of adversity from injuries? Absolutely. And he's an elite competitor. And I think that, as you evaluate, what he's accomplished, you have to give him even more credibility and more respect for being a guy that said, I knew my team needed me out there. And so I put some of my personal things to the side to be there for my teammates, to be on the court, to be present, to be in that fight. So, I mean, Tamin Lipsey is one of the greatest winners I've ever observed, watched, coached, been around, and studied, learned from. And he has done so much for me, for our team, for our program. So, I mean, again, I can't say enough amazing things about what I feel and think about Tamin Lipsey and what he's done for all of us.
Last question.
I know Tamin's extra pass ability and what you mentioned with Jefferson bringing back the initiative to move the ball. How have you seen the extra pass become contagious with the entire team?
Yeah, no, I think it's largely, Lipsey and Jefferson's ability to understand and command that, like, the other team's going to have a scouting report or a game plan or a way that they want to do things. And the more that we share the ball, play for each other later in possessions, the more those things are harder to execute. Now what happens is you have a more natural advantage. You play to that advantage. You read the defense. You move the basketball. They certainly both take so much pride in getting an assist that that is certainly contagious. And so that has a huge effect on our team. And so I think it's the passing. Yes, it's the sharing the ball. Yes, it's getting a great shot for our team. I think more than anything for our team, when multiple actions are happening, we have a screen over here. There's a ball screen and a flare screen. There's a two things happening, the ball's moving side to side. That's where our offense is at our best. I mean, for us, yes, we want to score off our defense and generate turnovers and go in transition. And we also recognize the other team's trying really hard not to turn it over, and they're trying to get their defense set. So where we've gotten to a place, and we certainly can't take for granted, is how we share it, how we play for each other, and how we move it. And absolutely, that's Tamin and Joshua's leadership and them stepping up, because that wasn't happening when we were having adversity, not just the games we lost, but even a couple of games prior to that. The ball movement wasn't quite as great, and we've completely shifted that by the work we've done in practice and had a contagious, effect on everybody.